I believe we are live. Not sure if we are live. All right, I think we're live. Hey, everybody. How's it going? How's everybody doing today? Hope you guys are able to hear me okay. If there's any issues with the audio, please let me know. Please let me know if you guys have a hard time hearing me. If you hear me okay, just put 1 in the chat, please. If you hear me okay, just put a 1 in the chat. Shout out to you, Drew Cash. Thanks for your support, man. All right, thank you. All right, looks like you guys can hear me okay. Perfect. All right. Okay, well, before we go ahead and get into the good news of today that I'm sure many of you guys who keep up with the Alberta independence movement are probably aware of at this time, the fact that Alberta independence is finally moving forward after a bunch of a whole lot of BS delays and stuff like that. But before we get into that, let's check where you guys are watching from. Where are you guys watching from? Where's everybody watching from? I want to shout you guys out. Where are you all watching from? Hey, Lori Patterson, shout out to you. Lori, you guys got to hear this. Lori found out about this before me and let me know. She sends me an email. By the way, any of you guys can send me an email, pjthebelt@gmail.com. If you guys got any information that you think I should share on the channel, actually, many of the videos that I make, many of them, believe it or not, come from people in the audience that go like, hey, PJ, you should probably talk about this. So feel free. If you ever there's something that you want to bring to my attention, I would really appreciate it. It actually makes the channel more versatile. Sometimes I'm not everywhere. This is not my full-time gig. I have a 9 to 5 still. Maybe eventually I'll end up doing this full time, but for now, I'm on the road all the time. So Lori, shout out to you. Thank you for letting me know the good news. In a world, in a country full of bad news, it's great to see. Hey, Drew Cash, shout out to you, man. Drew Cash just gifted 5 channel memberships. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. All right. Well, Lori out in Spruce Grove, Steep Pots in Tucson, Arizona, Mom 572 in Calgary, Oil Sands north of Alberta, Sam the electrician, Acadian Gal in Florida. Lucky you, the nice weather. Jake Dukes in Oregon, Aaron Bortner in Indiana, Pueblo, Colorado. Awesome. Susie Warts in Red Deer. McKay, YYC, okay. Cochrane, Alberta, J&J, Millet, Alberta. That's just south of Leduc, Millet, right? Calgary, Alberta, Georgia, USA, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, west of Caroline. That's Caroline, Alberta, right? Not West Carolina. I think there's only 2 Carolinas, right? Cowtown from Calgary, Alberta, Peace River. Howdy, y'all from Northwest Montana. Oh, you're our neighbor. Aaron Bortner in Indiana, Lower Lake, California, La Glace, Alberta, Lloydminster, Border City, Manitoba, Thorsby, Independent, Alberta. Well, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you guys so much for joining me. PJ the Belt has good news for once. I got some good news. I'm excited about this. All those of you who've kept up with this channel, you guys know that the main theme, the reason why this channel was started was as a way of supporting the Alberta independence movement, giving a voice to that movement, which needed as many voices as possible, trying to spread the word and the fact that Alberta patriots, particularly after the last election, where we realized that our vote doesn't mean anything. We actually confirmed it because many Albertans already knew. In Alberta, we have a saying, which is, the election is decided right at the border or before it hits the Manitoba border. So basically meaning that it's Quebec and Ontario who elect our leaders for us. We voted 95% conservative. Same in Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan and Alberta both voted over 90% conservative. I think it was like two liberals out of like 35 seats in Alberta, and in Saskatchewan, just one out of, I think, 20 something. So, yeah, so, trying to give a voice to this movement, which is the hope, the very last hope of many Westerners, many, not only Albertans, but Westerners, people in Saskatchewan, people in northern British Columbia, people in rural Manitoba, people in the north, the Yukon. You got people who support Wexit. And Alberta is that bastion of hope for Canada, because you better believe that the people at the top, the liberals, they are trying to make Canada, every single part of Canada, the same as the east of Canada, where you have uncontrolled immigration, where you have people who can't afford a house, you have people needing the government for a handout, food banks overwhelmed, etc., etc., etc. But anyways, I have some great news here for you guys today. I'm going to show you here. So this is breaking. This is Keith Wilson. Those of you who follow the Alberta independence movement, you'll know that Keith Wilson is an important part in this movement. He's a lawyer, constitutional lawyer, that is, and he broke the news. Basically breaking. The Alberta government has announced amendments to the Citizens Initiative Act, Bill 14, reaffirming citizens' rights to trigger an independence referendum. This immediately ends the court challenge that was seeking to block the Alberta Prosperity Project's petition question and restores the democratic intent of letting Albertans decide their own future. A great day for Alberta independence movement. Now we can focus on completing the petition process, leading to a 2026 provincial independence vote. I'm gonna clap myself here. I'm gonna clap. This is huge news. This is what I was complaining about what was it, babe? Like 4 days ago, 5 days ago, when I did that impromptu live. Just asking my wife, my memory's failing me when I did my last live. Yeah, we did. I did a live, and I was complaining about exactly this before the UCP AGM, that this law, this stipulation on the referendum law, on the law that lowered the amount of signatures, was like a poison pill. It basically made independence be killed at the courts. Like, the APP has been waiting 3 to 4 months for us to finally begin collecting signatures, and we can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. We can finally see the ending of this bureaucratic BS that we've been dealing with the Alberta Prosperity Project having to deal with judges and arguing why this question is constitutional or not, when we all know it is constitutional. Shout out to Sean P73. Sean P73. Thank you so much for the super chat, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat. Alberta independence, let's freaking go. Lottie, oh, your Lori's has awesome, man. You guys are awesome. You guys are great. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your support. All right. So yeah, so we got this news, and I had to jump on. I'm really tired from work, but I was like, man, I have to jump on it live, even if it's for half hour. I have to share this with my audience, you guys that are invested in this process, in this democratic, historic process. And even though this is a huge victory, you know that the left is going to be doing all kinds of things to stifle and hinder this movement. But we can now finally begin to actually do the work. We can get out there and talk to more people. You better believe that the Alberta Prosperity Project is going to be doubling down on the education campaign. They've already hit pretty much most of the small towns in Alberta, so they're probably going to go twice as hard now. and I'll try to attend some of those town halls and live stream if I can. It's really difficult sometimes because the internet in those really small towns, really rural small towns, it's really bad. Sometimes they have Wi-Fi, sometimes they don't. But if I can't live stream, then I will record it and I will post it on the channel. So yeah, amazing news. Keith Wilson broke it. And then here, because the left is already going, you guys know that the left is going to be arguing, oh, why is it that they're going to be passing this law, this Bill 14? Why don't you let the courts do what they're going to do and whatever? That's what the left is going to say. You better believe it. And Keith Wilson got way ahead of them. He's already explaining that Canada is a parliamentary democracy, and parliament, or in this case, legislature, the Alberta legislature, reigns supreme over the courts because it's elected officials. Those court judges, a lot of them are appointed by liberals. There are many. Trudeau, before he left, Liberal Prime Minister Trudeau appointed so many judges in each and every single province. So judges do not always, actually, oftentimes they do not represent the will of the people, but elected officials do. Anyway, the tweet goes, Canada is a parliamentary democracy, which means our legislatures are supreme. In this system, if MLAs, members of the Legislative Assembly, believe a court has misinterpreted the intent of the law, or if a law is being abused for political purposes, the legislature has both the authority and the responsibility to amend that law, which is basically what's happening here. You had the courts directed by an elections director, pun intended, being extra, being bureaucratic, and wanting to delay the independence process. And that's what was happening. Mitch Sylvester, the CEO of the Alberta Prosperity Project, deposited the application to start collecting signatures back in July. I believe it was exactly on July the 4th that he deposited the petition application with Elections Alberta, and we just had a court date. The Alberta Prosperity Project just went to court like a week or two ago before the UCP AGM took place. So they've been sitting on the application for the referendum. They've been sitting on it for 3+ months, just delaying and delaying. And this finally puts an end to that. And later we're going to talk about why I believe this happened and why the timing of it. But let's continue reading the tweet. Thankfully, this is exactly what the Smith government has done today with Bill 14. The amendment makes it clear that it was never the intent for a proposed Citizens Initiative Act question to become bogged down in the courts, nor was it ever intended that the power to approve and hold referendums be shifted from the government to the judiciary. Exactly. It shouldn't be a judge, an unelected judge deciding the future for free people. It should be elected officials, elected by the people. With Bill 14, Alberta's democratic process is strengthened, ensuring that decision-making authority remains where it has always belonged, in the hands of the elected legislature. Correct. This is very good. Very good news. Democracy just became stronger in Alberta, in a country, Canada, where democracy is getting worse and worse every single passing day. I am still kind of angry with the government for allowing what's happening to the pastors. I don't know if you guys watched my previous video talking about what's happening to Christianity here in Canada and what happened to a pastor in Calgary today, a pastor who refused to apologize to a woke trans activist was arrested because the court, go figure, a judge in the court, an activist judge, imposed some sort of condition where he had to officially write an apology saying he was wrong, when the way he spoke was basically preaching his beliefs. The Bible is against transgenderism and that stuff. So he's not going to apologize. Asking him to apologize is to go against what he believes is true and his religion, what's in the Bible, right? So yeah, the fact that a pastor got arrested, I am not impressed with that. But I am going to take the W. I am going to take this win, and I am going to run with it for now. And so I want to. Okay, there's a super chat here from Sandeep Suwanand official. Man, I cannot pronounce your name. Sorry if I mispronounced it there. I have an RPAL. Alberta needs to unban handguns. I 100% agree. 100% agree. Particularly for people like yourself, man, who have an RPAL. If you have an RPAL, for those of you south of the border or those of you who don't know about the gun world, an RPAL is a restricted possession and acquisitions license. So there's two levels. There's two levels when you go and get your license as a licensed gun owner myself. So there's two levels. You have the PAL, which is your regular possession and acquisitions license. You have to take a course. You sit a whole day with an instructor, oftentimes retired military, who teaches you the basics of a gun, a rifle, and so on. For a PAL, it is basically you basically are allowed to have shotguns and rifles and things like that, mostly the boring guns, but the guns that you really use for hunting mostly. And then with an RPAL, which is restricted, it gives you access to the restricted weapons, still, excuse me, still with limitations, obviously, because it's Canada, there's going to be limitations, right? But it gives you access to handguns and stuff like that for sports shooting and so on and so forth. Yeah, Canada should, but it's not going to happen under a liberal government, my friend. It is not going to happen under the liberals. We can only dream. We did take a bit of a W. We did take a little bit of a win this week in Alberta. I don't know if you heard, but Danielle Smith, I don't know if it was because of the pressure and her realizing, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that. That's coming. That's coming down the pipe. But it might have been due to pressure, her realizing that she has been playing the middle and she needs to become more, actually show that she's conservative. And she announced that she won't be implementing any sort of gun confiscations. Like, she will not be enforcing anything coming from Ottawa as far as guns go. If you're a law-abiding citizen who happens to have a weapon and you use it in self-defense, she basically told criminals not to break into people's homes if they don't want to be hurt, right? So that at least is, I would call it a partial win. I really do hope that one day, I mean, in an independent Alberta, that would absolutely happen. In an independent Republic of Alberta, we would have something more like a Second Amendment, which would be great. But anyways, I've been telling you guys and teasing you about why I think this good news happened. And I can't emphasize enough that this is my opinion. You come here for my opinion. Obviously, my opinion is informed. I try to stay as informed as possible when it comes to Alberta independence, but it is an opinion nonetheless. I don't know everything. I am not on every single group that has different sources of information. But I believe this is a direct result. The fact that Danielle Smith is acting more conservative and governing for her base, and that it's happening so quickly, that what she said about the guns, which I just talked about, and now this huge win for the Alberta independence movement. I believe this is all from the pressure. The UCP AGM saw 80% of the delegates sitting, I think it was the Friday of that weekend, when Jeffrey Rath got up to the podium or got up to the mic and he said, "How many of you support an independent Alberta?" And the room erupted. I made a video about this. Those of you who haven't watched it, you can go a few days back and you'll see it. The room erupted. That was incredibly significant for obvious reasons. This tells the leadership of the party that just because they tried to censor the discussion doesn't mean that the movement is going to go away. I was one who criticized the premier for saying, independence is not going to be a discussion at the annual general meeting. I criticized her for that, and I don't regret it, because when a politician is not doing the right thing, you should criticize them. You should hold them to account. You cannot, obviously, you need to cut them some slack, right? You need to give them some room, and I have done that. When Danielle Smith does something positive, I have over 100 videos talking positively about her for the things that she does that are positive. But when they do something that is not good, you need to criticize them. You need to hold them to account. You need to remind them that you are their voter base. You put them in power. Public servants are exactly that. They're public servants. We are the public. They're supposed to serve us. We don't serve them. We're not here to bootlick. We're not here to kiss her butt. All right? We're here to remind her to stay the course. Obviously, we need to support her when she does the right thing. And for this, I give her huge credit. Huge credit. But I don't believe she just did it out of her own volition. I think she realized, holy crap, I need to pick a side here. And that is what's been happening in Alberta. For those of you outside of Alberta or that may not keep up with this, there's been a lot of pressure on Danielle Smith and the UCP to pick a side now that they know for a fact that their party is majority supportive of independence. So the way Alberta's looking right now, we have a third, 33 to 40%, who support Alberta either leaving or moving towards leaving, between 35 and 40%. Even the mainstream media had it at 36, 37%. More conservative polls had it at in the low 40s to mid 40s, between 42 and 45. That is close to 50, but not quite there. Then we have a third that are never going to support independence. These are people who live off of government. These are people who love the status quo. These are people who are woke and they believe that we're Nazis for wanting our province to separate and become independent. NDP operatives, NDP supporters. Those are people that are never going to vote for independence. The NDPs, the woke crazies in Alberta, the super liberal people. And then you have the third in the middle. I believe it was Keith Wilson, the lawyer, who said this. And that's the third that we need to try our best to educate and convince and bring onto the independence fold. All we need, my opinion, is 50 plus 1. If we get 50% plus the 1, obviously we want to make it as decisive as possible. We don't want to leave any room for them to, oh, maybe not. Maybe they did a lot of shenanigans in Quebec, and Quebec came like 49.5% for independence versus, I think, 50.5% for staying. And the Parti Québécois, the people who were leading the independence movement in Quebec, were saying that there were so many psyops and so much government interference in that. So you have to make it as big as possible. We got to make it too big to rig, like President Trump says. We got to make it too big to rig. So with that in mind, we need to educate that second third in the middle, the people who are undecided, the people who are not sure, the people who maybe never heard about the fact that Alberta could become an independent country and would be much better off than staying in the sinking ship that is today's Canada. We need to talk to those people and we need to reach them. And today marks a huge event where we can now get motivated, those of us who support independence, and go and talk to those people. You at your job, just like myself, you see a colleague. Most Alberta truckers already support independence. We're talking about the truckers, right? The trucker convoy, Canada. Truckers in Canada are very pro-freedom, at least Canadian truckers. They're very pro-freedom. You're on the road all the time. You're by yourself. You gotta work hard to make the money. They're very pro-freedom, right? So we need to talk to those people when you're at work, when you're at the gym, family dinners. Talk to those people. Let's talk to them. Let's let them know. Let's hit them with facts, because the facts are on our side. The other side has corruption, bribes, and nostalgia. That's all they got. Corruption, bribes, and nostalgia. All they can say is, oh, but Canada, remember how Canada used to be? It used to be so great. Yeah, but that's not it today. Bribes, paying Quebec to stay, paying Ontario, and so on, with equalization with Alberta's money. And then a lot of corruption. They don't have the facts. That's why whenever you say to somebody, hey, I think Alberta would be better off independent, here's why. Because we give to Canada more than we receive back from Canada. Because our province is already landlocked and Canada doesn't benefit us. Actually, it blocks us at every single turn. We hit them with facts. They go like, yeah, you should just move to the US. You should just move south. No, we want to take our province with us and become independent. Um, or they go like, you're just a racist, which, how does that make any sense? I'm a racist because I want independence for Alberta, or you're a Nazi, and so on and so forth. But anyways, I believe, because I went on a long tangent there, ranted for a bit. I believe she felt the pressure, and because of that pressure, she's governing for her base now, which is good. This is good news for us. So this is a tweet from Jeffrey Rath, one of the co-founders of the Alberta Prosperity Project. Earlier today, he, retweeted Mr. Shanshan Baby. Apparently, there was an article for CBC in French CBC, and the title went, Danielle Smith will campaign against Alberta sovereignty in the event of a referendum. Now, there's been a correction to this, and we'll talk about it in a second. But that was what the news was about 6-7 hours ago in the afternoon today. That Danielle Smith declared that she would be working against Alberta independence. When I read that, I read it quickly and I was like, oh boy, here we go. I knew she was a federalist. I was already going like, I knew it. I knew she was, because I've been criticizing her. And like I said, I'm not apologizing for criticizing her when she does the wrong thing. When she does the right thing, I'll be the first one to clap. I'll be the first one to give her credit, and I will cut her some slack. But when she clearly is messing up, I am going to criticize her. I am. I'm not going to apologize for that. Apparently there was some situation here where they interpreted that she said she would campaign against Alberta independence. And Jeffrey Rath, who's been roasting her for months now, said, shocking, Danielle Smith lied to her supporters again. And that was earlier this afternoon. But a correction came out from CBC themselves, the ones who put out that article, apparently, according to Jason Levine, who is a journalist, an independent journalist here in Alberta, who has been covering the independence movement for a while now. He goes, exclusive update on the CBC story about Premier Danielle Smith and an independence referendum. Earlier this week, CBC Radio-Canada published a headline stating that Premier Danielle Smith, quote, will campaign against Alberta sovereignty in the event of a referendum. That headline has since been revised, and the article has been corrected. Radio-Canada added the following correction notice. Correction, quote, on December 4th, 2025, so that would have been today, we amended this article to indicate that the Premier reaffirmed her support for Alberta's sovereignty within a united Canada without explicitly stating which side she would take. And here's where I give her credit. She has left the door open. She has said multiple times and reiterated it at the AGM this past weekend. She said, my mandate as of this time, as of right now, is to try to make Alberta sovereign within a united Canada. However, if her mandate, if her mandate changes, then she will work from there. She'll take it from there. I don't think she's ever gone as far. Correct me if I'm wrong, any of you guys, if she has gone as far as saying whether she would fully support an independence referendum, whether she would fully support independence in the event of a winning referendum. I don't think she's ever gone that far. I think she kind of dances around that question. She goes like, well, my goal is to remind Albertans that Canada does work, that we're better together, and so on and so forth. But she's never gone and said, yeah, if a referendum passes, then but if a referendum passes, I am confident she's going to have to, or step down. She would either have to jump on board or step down. This will be huge news. The Quebec independence movement made international news. Alberta will make even bigger news because Alberta's not bluffing. Albertans are not bluffing. When Albertans are like, we want out of here, we mean it. We want our independence. We're not trying to get concessions here. If they give them, we'll take them. It's only fair. Alberta has been mistreated for decades and decades. Those of you who've lived longer than me will remember what happened with Trudeau Sr. in the 70s and 80s in the National Energy Program, right? So this is not new. The Alberta's issues with Canada are not new. People call them grievances. I don't think they're grievances. They're legitimate issues. And these issues have been around for at least 5 decades, since Trudeau the father was screwing Alberta, and Peter Lougheed was trying his best to protect Alberta to no avail. So anyway, the tweet continues. After seeing the original headline, I contacted, that's Jason speaking. He contacted the Premier's office for clarification. Sam Blackett, press secretary to the Premier, provided the following statement. The Premier did not state she would actively campaign for the no side in a potential referendum on Alberta independence. The Premier was simply reiterating her support for Alberta sovereignty within a united Canada, and that she believes Canada can work given the recent success of the Alberta-Ottawa Energy Agreement. I don't know how much of a success that was. We agreed to a carbon tax. Excuse me. This is live, folks. Excuse me for a second there. I don't know how much of a success that memorandum of understanding actually is. I don't. I mean, there were 1 or 2 crumbs in there, like the fact that the clean electricity regulation was removed. And then I think something about the production cap being paused. Those are crumbs. He could have eliminated. She had like 12 demands, I think. And there were 9 bad laws, and she had 12 demands. The biggest one being equalization payments, the fact that we pay equalization to Quebec, even though Quebec is a much bigger province with many more people. We literally, Alberta, pay like alimony or child support for Quebec, basically. And even Ontario has been getting, to a lesser extent, but even Ontario has been getting equalization payments from Alberta. And that wasn't addressed at all. And many other things were not addressed. It's a pipeline that doesn't have to be built until 2040. You know, if you told me 2030, 2032, something like that, like between 4 and 6 years or something like that, that's more realistic. Like 15 years, a pipeline to nowhere. And then apparently the Premier provided the Radio Canada article link, and there it is. So they corrected it. Danielle Smith saying that she supports an independent Alberta within a united Canada is nothing new. That's what she's been saying. I am not going to roast her for that. That's what she has been saying. One issue I have with that is, then if you're going to make Alberta sovereign within a united Canada, then start making Alberta sovereign while we're in Canada, right? While we're in Canada, make us sovereign. And what does that look like besides the rhetoric? What does that look like in action? Albertans have been telling her, our own pension plan, our own police force, get the federal police out of here, get our own Alberta police. I already mentioned a pension plan, police, revenue, Alberta collecting its own taxes, and then Alberta immigration. Quebec already does all of that. The province of Quebec already does all of that. They collect their own taxes. They have their own police. They control their own immigration. They just recently said that they would lower immigration, the people of Quebec. I would love to see Danielle Smith at a press conference saying, we are not going to be taking any more immigrants sent from Ottawa. Anyone who does not contribute to this province can't come to Alberta. I would love to hear Danielle Smith say that, particularly when we have a crisis where our youth, young people, cannot find work in their own towns, in their own cities, particularly when our food banks are overwhelmed with the demand. So make an announcement, just like Quebec did, that you're not going to be taking in immigrants that do not contribute, that you're not going to be taking in immigrants that do not bring something to the table, that don't speak the language properly. Do it, lady, do it. You know, get our own police, Alberta police force. Come on, get the sheriffs. But anyway, here, this is what I think did it. This right here. This is the moment that I believe has led to this quick change from, excuse me, from the premier to actually govern for her base. This was during the UCP AGM this past weekend when Jeffrey Rath went up to the mic. Let's have a quick listen to that. Put the volume up. There we go.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Rath. I'm from Foothills, Alberta. My question is for everybody in this room. After that so-called MOU was signed yesterday, the ink wasn't dry on the paper, and Mark Carney went out and gleefully announced a 600% increase to the industrial carbon tax in Alberta. My question for the room is,
He did.
how many of all of us favor a free and independent Alberta?
Room goes crazy. The room went crazy, and they're still clapping. Look at that. They clapped for like 5 minutes straight or something. So that was the loudest message you can send to a politician. Danielle Smith was sitting right over here somewhere. She was sitting. She was actually the moderator at that time. And she heard it. She also got booed right after she said, I support an independent Alberta, but within Canada. She got booed, brutally booed. It was obvious, because sometimes the boos are mixed or they're drowned out by cheers. No. This was obvious. She was being booed brutally. And the message was clear. Like, she risked dividing the party. And we don't need that. I really do not want to see the crazies in the NDP govern this province ever again. Ever again. I don't want to see that. And people will say, well, they'll kill the independence movement. They'll try to kill the independence movement. I don't want to see that happen. I don't want to see the NDP in power ever again. But I don't know that anyone can just kill this movement. All right? And the more they try to kill it, like we found out this past week, the more they try to suppress it, censor it, the more it grows. The more Albertans dig in their heels and say, okay, let's do this. Now I want independence. And then they go and convince their fellow Albertans to be pro-independence because of the censorship, because of the fact that they're not giving us a fair shot at it. So I don't know that even if the NDP won, which I don't want it to happen, vote UCP. Vote Conservative, all right? Don't vote NDP. I don't know that Naheed Nenshi, that fat POS, would do anything. I think he'd actually probably anger us even more, and we would probably work even harder. He'll try to do everything, but at some point the people would probably just get angrier and angrier. But anyways, I think this was the moment. I think this is when we reminded the premier that she works for us, Albertans who put her in power, that she needs to govern for her people, not to try to convince people who are never going to vote for her. The NDP, the leftists are never going to vote for you, ma'am. So why are you trying to govern for them? Alberta is majority conservative. If you have the Conservatives United, name of your party, United Conservatives, if you have us united under a banner, the NDP never stand a chance. They don't stand a chance. But you have to govern for your people, so you energize them, so they trust you. The reason why they got rid of Jason Kenney is because he was a liar. He didn't keep his word. He was bullshitting Albertans. And he went insane during COVID. when he was campaigning, he sounded like, oh my God, the most conservative guy ever, driving his pickup truck up and down Alberta, wearing a cowboy hat and so on. And then when COVID hit, he was imposing vaccine passports. And Albertans got tired, and real quick, we ousted him. So govern like a true conservative, and you're going to have your base. Anyways, guys, that is what I wanted to talk about today. I want to take some questions from you guys, if there are any questions. You got any questions over there? Results of the Alberta Next panel. Yeah, like the Alberta Next panel, people remember the Alberta Next panel. But the thing with that is that the Alberta Next panel was just rhetoric. Like, she hasn't done anything with that, you know? She hasn't done anything. My wife was just mentioning the Alberta Next panel being maybe a part of the whole pension thing and policing, but I honestly, I don't think that did anything. Like, she could, you don't need a referendum to create an Alberta police. You're the premier, just start one. You don't need a referendum to start controlling our own immigration. Anyways, let's start taking some questions here. Let me go to the, okay, so if you guys have a question, make sure to put a question mark, like 2 or 3 question marks on it, because it's hard to see it, guys. There are so many chats. I got to go to the very bottom here. And it doesn't have to be a question. It can be a comment too. Man, I'm trying to get to the bottom. Okay, there we are. Okay. Okay, I got Mopart. Shout out to you, my man. Thanks for being a member. Hey, B, you're supporting you, man, from the Yukon. See, I told you guys there's people in the Yukon. Shout out to you, man. Shout out to the common sense people of the Yukon. Lived in Alberta near a decade. Only my family keeping me up here. Yeah, the Yukon, man. Common sense people up there, too. If Alberta goes, Alberta need to take the Yukon with us. You know, maybe you guys can join the greater Alberta later. Or if Alberta joins America, maybe you guys join America as well. Because that's still a possibility. People say, no, we need to focus on independence. Because what matters right now is independence. But if Albertans, after that, just like Texas did, Texas was free for 10 years. Texas was its own country. And then they decided. History is a little bit more complicated than that. But bottom line is, Texans decided after 10 years, you know what? Let's join America. They were independent for 10 years and then they joined. I'm not saying Alberta will do that, but it's a possibility. It's not impossible. You got Dog Lee. He supports 51st state. All right, let's see. Anybody else with a question? Okay, so we got Rockin' Around 6965. Hey, PJ, when are you going to do another interview collab live? It's tricky to schedule things, man, because I work all over Alberta. I tried to stick to the whole Sunday thing. I couldn't. So now I do them impromptu. I do my lives impromptu. Try to hop in here and keep you guys informed. And then I try to keep up with the daily videos. I'm not sure if there are any creators who want to invite me. The thing is, guys, some creators, they come on my channel, right? And I bring them on, but they won't bring me on their channel. And it's like, why don't you invite me to your channel? You know, like, I expose you to my audience. Why don't you expose me to your audience? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not petty. I'm not the kind of guy who likes to read into those things. But at some point, you can't help it, you know? It's like, I brought you on my channel. Why don't you bring me on yours, you know? Okay. This one is from Pick and Pan. Saskatchewan can move forward without Alberta taking the lead. Your thoughts, PJ? That is true and not true at the same time. It's true because Alberta, I believe, will take the lead for this. But also not true because Saskatchewan is its own province. They can do whatever they want. If the citizens of Saskatchewan, Saskatchewanians or Saskatchewans want it, and they want it more bad than Albertans want it, then they'll get it done, man. Okay. hold on here. Oh, I'm trying to bring Waniska. I'm trying to bring your super chat on the. There you are. Found you. Waniska 5324. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you very much. How positive do you feel about the referendum vote? Well, it is what I said earlier. We got a lot of work ahead of us, but is it doable? 100%. 100% doable. 100% possible, because the facts are on our side. And I also believe in the Albertan spirit. Albertans are freaking Westerners, man. The West. Like, the culture here is different. It's cowboy country, farmer country. Even though there a bunch of people have come from other provinces and the culture has been somewhat diluted, a majority of Albertans is very Western, very proud of their independence, of their freedom, of their ability to, have free enterprise, to have lower taxes. That's why Alberta is the lowest taxed province in all of Canada, the only one without a sales tax, the only one without a provincial sales tax. And that has never changed. They've tried. They know they can't, because Albertans are very pro freedom. So I have high hope. I think, again, we're probably solid support, like myself and like you, who support independence solidly. We're already on the yes side. 35, 40, 45% max, between the 35 and 45%. People who hate Alberta, the idea of Alberta independence and Alberta, because those who hate Alberta independence also hate Alberta. It's the weirdest thing ever. They hate Alberta independence and they hate Alberta, but they don't want us to leave. It's the same argument I was having in a video the other day, Like, you hate us, we hate you. We don't like you. We don't like the wokies. We don't like the whole thing. We don't like your new religion that you have, the whole planet thing and the global warming stuff. We don't like you either. You don't like us because we're common sense, we're cowboy culture, pro oil, pro energy. Then let's just call it a day, right? Let's do like, Czechoslovakia did. Czech Republic and Slovakia, they separated. Let's just separate, right? You don't like us, we don't like you. But the other side, they don't like us, right? I mean, I know they don't like us. They hate us, but they don't want us to leave. So it's like a bad marriage with an abusive partner, where they don't love you. They obviously don't love you, right? And sometimes they hate you, but they won't let you leave, So that's what's happening here. We got that, like I said, that's like 30 to 35. That's all the NDP voters and the woke and the crazies that have moved to Alberta, and some crazies that are from Alberta, particularly in Edmonton, right? That are super leftist, super socialist. And then we have the middle ground, that 20, 25, maybe 30% in the middle, who are undecided, who are open to be convinced. I like our chances. I like our chances very much. All right, let's try to get another question in here. Take a couple more. What time is it? All right, we got like 5 minutes left. Question. Looking for a question. Okay, I got a question here from Macamke. Question: As gun owner and okay to hold in Alberta, will we be arrested if we exit Alberta by us RCMP if our guns are registered and they know we didn't give them up? Are you talking about the ones that are restricted, the ones that are banned? Because the banned ones, I'm not a lawyer, by the way. Disclaimer: I'm not a lawyer. The ones that are banned, the government just gave an extra year for the whatever they call it, grace period. They just gave an extra year to the country to, although, like I said, Alberta, Premier Danielle Smith already said she's not going to be implementing any of those laws, even when in a year from now, in say October of next year, she's not going to be implementing any of those. So I'm assuming in Alberta you'll be fine. That's my assumption, because Alberta won't be implementing the gun ban. But if you go to other provinces, then Saskatchewan said the exact same thing. Premier Scott Moe said he will not be implementing a gun confiscation. So you might be okay in Saskatchewan. I don't know. Again, not a lawyer. All right. PJ, reach out to Canadian Reporter. He's interested in independent segment. Dude, I don't even know who that guy is. I am not sure. Like, I don't even know if he's Canadian. He says Canadian Reporter. I don't think he's ever said where he's from. And I'm not saying this like bad mouth the guy. I'm saying it because I honestly I don't know. I've watched his videos once or twice because he talks about the things I talk about, and I appreciate that. But I don't even think he's Canadian. He's never said he's Canadian. He also I don't know. He just, how can I say this without like sounding like I'm trying to put down the guy? I don't think he's from here. He might not even be from here. If he is, I hope he says where he's from. Like me, you guys know I'm a real guy. I go live, I'm at the rallies. I've met a bunch of you. Like, this other people is opportunistic. Like they're just making video because it's trendy. They don't even live in Alberta. They're not from here. For all I know, that guy might be in another country. If he is legit, great, awesome. But I don't know. And then I think he's just trying to get the clicks too, because he's just posting very old videos that are not relevant, that are not current. So I don't know, man. I'm not sure. Hi, PJ. Would you be interested in doing a show? He's got to invite me, man. I've had him on my show. He's yet to invite me on his. He's been in front of my audience. I've never been in front of his, and I've never been invited. So I don't know. Maybe, we'll see what happens. Landlocked more. What does that mean? Oh, well, we're currently landlocked, right? Like people say, oh, it's because you're landlocked. You can't be an independent country when you're landlocked. Well, we're landlocked right now. We can't even get a pipeline in this country. We have much better chances of building a pipeline to the United States than we have to building west towards the British Columbian coast. They're like, no, we're not interested in Alberta pipeline. So, Clown P1ST. Hi, Zachary Gabriel here. Hope you're doing well. COVID 1984, anyone? I hear you, man. Oh yeah, and I've mentioned him too, a bunch of times, and again I've had him on my channel. He can invite me, right? And I've just a second. And I've met him. I've met him in person. We have a good relationship in person. Like I shook his hand and everything. I have no issue with him. I'm just saying, guys, I've invited him. He's been on my platform. He can invite me on his, right? All right, I'll take. Okay, so my wife is asking me to talk about foreign workers. Somebody asked a question about foreign workers. The thoughts on the foreign workers. Look, Alberta has to bring in people who add to it, not who take from it. Some foreign workers are absolutely necessary. We need more nurses. We need more nurses badly, especially in small towns. We need more nurses. We need more doctors who stay here. We need more doctors, not doctors who get here, get the education here, and then move to Florida. I understand the urge to move to Florida. It's beautiful down there. The weather's gorgeous. But hey, Alberta gave you a chance. Please stay here. At least give it a good 10 years, Seniors need you here. We need more doctors. We need more. There's got to be immigration tailored to the needs of the province. Actual needs. We don't need people working at Tim Hortons. We got young people. That's what young Canadians used to do, and they can no longer do it. I live in a very small town, and I have neighbors telling me that their son or daughter can't find work. at the local Tim Hortons. And they're trying, because they'll tell you, look, the media and the government will gaslight you and manipulate you by telling you that young Canadians don't want to work these jobs. Maybe some don't, but a good chunk do. A good percentage do. Just go online and go young Canadians looking for work and can't find it. So many young Canadians can't find work at Tim Hortons or A&W or McDonald's or Walmart because it's a bunch of foreign workers in there. And it's not anti-immigration. Man, I'm an immigrant myself. Alberta adopted me 2 decades ago, almost. But I came in here and I brought something to the table, and I continue to bring something to the table, you know? And I'm not, I never took a job from someone. Like, I never took a job that a Canadian wanted, or like, you know what I mean? Like replacing the people that are from here. I took jobs because there were vacancies, right? Because there were more people, there were more jobs than people willing to do that job. When I came here, transportation, so many boomers retired from trucking in transportation. Like there were not enough, So yeah, it's just you got to bring in people according to the needs of the province. Pick and Pan, thank you, PJ. Thank you, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, 2 more questions. Does PJ have a Discord? I am not sophisticated enough. I don't even know what that is. I am barely learning how to do this live streams now. Maybe in a year from now when I finally learn how to use technology more. Let's see. This one's huge. This is the video that I made earlier today. With Bill C-9 coming, many on the fence of independence will join to preserve freedom of religion. If you're a Christian, if you're a Catholic, Protestant, Hutterite, Mennonite, anything, if you're a Christian, you should be on the side of independence because Canada is not looking good for Christians. As a Christian man myself, I'm not the most devoted person. I don't go to church every Sunday, but I try to go, and I believe in God, and I read the Bible, at least a little verse every day, And it's looking bad out there when they're arresting pastors over a comment or because they didn't apologize for speech, for preaching their religion. That's happening in Canada in 2025. If you haven't watched that video, please go and watch it, and please share it with people who are Christians. Share it with them. We need to wake up the Christians. 2020, the whole thing with the virus happened because not enough Christian leaders stood up to the tyranny. And it's only going to get worse because they know they got away with it. So if they got away with it before, they may think they can get away with it again. Last question. Well, this is more of a comment from Lori Patterson. Shout out to you, Lori. Alberta is mountains, farm fields, parks, rodeos, and so much more. Heck yeah. And Alberta is freedom. Freedom, free enterprise, free to do as you please as long as you're within the law. Freedom to build. Freedom to build. All right, guys. Well, I am going to say goodnight to you guys. I want to shout out where you guys are from, where you're all watching from. So if you guys want to say, I want to shout out your town, your city, your state, your province, your country, whatever you're watching from, let me know where you're watching from, please. I want to shout you out. Gun, Alberta. Spruce Grove, Sean. That's just west of the city. Wyoming. Wyoming knows about cowboys. Wisconsin, USA, the Midwest. The cheese capital of the world. Daegu, Korea. Look, I told you guys some people are watching from other countries. Korea. That must be interesting. Western Illinois, cornfields. Charlotte, North Carolina. Utah. Love Utah, man. I was in the Salt Lake City area not long ago. Got some family there. Oklahoma, USA. I got to visit Oklahoma. I got to visit. The Yukon. Heck yeah, shout out to you, man. Wisconsin, USA, the Midwest. 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 Wisconsin, USA, Hang in there. Hang in there, America. Canada's got your back. I don't know that Canada's got the back of the. I don't think Canada's got the USA's back anymore. Victoria, Mexico. I thought Victoria, BC. No, Mexico. Lucky you, man. Lucky you. Sadly, from Winterpeg. Must be cold as hell down there, man. Southern Michigan. Vancouver Island. Central Alberta. Heck yeah, my backyard. Eureka, Montana. Eureka! Michigan. Switzerland. Davos. Ooh, you probably encountered Klaus Schwab and his minions out there. All right, Calgary. Hannah. Is that Hannah, Alberta? Heck yeah, Hannah. That's where Nickelback is from. Love Nickelback. I don't care what you guys say. I love Nickelback. Phil, shout out to you, my friend. Hope you're enjoying the Florida weather. Thank you so much for your support, man. Thank you. All right, guys. I will see you all later. You guys have a great rest of your night. Peace.